too.
try to restart it
Right?
before it drops, and I'm probably gonna get a new URL, which really pisses me off.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes because my streaming computer crashes a lot.
Hmm.
One thing I do is, when you start a stream, do you use the schedule event or do you do
Yes,
like the stream now thing?
I
Okay.
use the schedule event.
In this schedule event thing, there's a button that says auto start and auto stop. The auto stop button makes it so that when the live stream stops receiving a feed from Streamlabs, it'll automatically close the stream. So if you make sure that's unchecked, then what'll happen is it'll just kind of like pause until you start streaming again in Streamlabs. Um, and then it won't make you get a new URL and stuff. It'll just bring it back up.
Okay. All right, PA, you want to see if it gave us a new because it's showing that we are live here.
Strange.
Oh yeah, I see that it's still live. So oh wait. Oh yeah, no, we're live. I can I can hear.
Yeah, it opened a new stream. There it is. Yeah.
Oh, and I heard myself. Wow.
Yeah, it opened a new stream.
And yet I
Looks
got
like on your
this.
channel.
Alrighty, YouTube. So we're gonna try this a second time.
And I'm
A
gonna
bizarre.
Bizarro world.
I will go update the links in the share, like my YouTube community posts and stuff.
You want to get Twitch.
Alrighty, so
Or
intro
Twitter.
number 2.
Yeah, it's so crazy. As soon as we're done with intros, the stream crashes and opens a new one. How bizarre is that?
Yeah, and I'm just
All right,
going,
well,
what happened?
intro number 2. Hey, everybody, how's it going? With me, as always, I have my lovely co-host, Mina.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. And with me today, we have two very special guests. We have J.M. Nelson, who is the author of many books, but we're going to focus on Coyote tonight, along with the Dark Somnium, who actually just narrated the audiobook on Audible for Coyote. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Doing good.
I'm doing pretty good too. I'm happy to be here and hanging out with all of you.
Now, this is the first time we've had Ronnie on here, which is kind of cool. Although I know we wanted to get you on way before now.
Oh really? Oh, huh. I thought that I know that there was that one time that it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I thought that I was on this here one other time. I guess I'm mistaken.
Unless I
I'm
missed
glad
it.
to
You
hear
were on.
now.
I think you were on Grave Matters, with CCG
right.
and
Filia.
Filia. But yeah, we wanted to get you on here, but stuff just wasn't not aligning.
That was my
so
that was my fault. It was my issue with scheduling. I remember it. I just didn't plan it correctly. But I'm glad we were able to finally make it happen.
yeah, it's always good talking to you, man. So for anyone who lived under a rock, and I mean a rock that's very, very, very deep down, and they don't know who you are, Ronnie, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have a channel called The Dark Somnium where I read scary stories. Mostly scary, sometimes really sad. But yeah, and I make music and do sound design. And I've been doing that for a few years now.
A few.
And sometimes they're funny as hell, but make zero sense because they're bad translations.
Yes, or the AI generated stories, which I need to do more of because those are fun.
Those are always entertaining. And how about you, Mr. JM? Why don't you tell them about yourself? You know, they still have to live under a rock and they don't know who you are either.
Hey man, I'm not
He's
like
only
that.
got like 8
not
books
that
out.
popular. 8 books, yeah. If only
Only 8
I was that
books,
productive. Yeah, I am J.M. Nelson. I am the author of Coyote, and also the author of 7 Spires. Many of which some of the short stories have been around on YouTube. My most popular is probably Among the Court of the Stag King. I also wrote a number that have been featured on the Dark Somnium's channel. Song for a Student, Grave Mistake, Fourth Pyramid of Giza, The Monolith. There's a couple other ones. Oh, Wailing in the Walls. That was probably the most recent one. I always forget that one.
I really like that one.
And
very talented author.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I agree. He's amazing. One of my favorites, honestly. Among the Court of the Stag King has always been one of my favorite stories, and the song that I made for that one, that's definitely one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, Court of Kings.
Sorry, I didn't mean while you're talking, but in the chat, JM, you got a really good compliment from Pimp Demon. I've been listening to Coyote. I love it. It's in the top 10 things narrated by the Dark Somnium.
That is quite the compliment. That's fantastic. I'm happy they are enjoying it.
Yeah, if you look up on our screen, we've got the Coyote Audible cover there. It's kind of a little cover up by Ronnie, but you know.
So
Yep.
Ronnie, actually I got a question for you, because I've never done an audiobook. How long does it take you to do one of those things, man?
Well, this is the first audiobook I've done, and it took quite a long time, but that's because I like learned a lot in the process of doing this. There were a lot of things that I had a lot of things I had to go back and fix, and a lot of issues I ran into just because I've never done a project this long in one sitting before. All of the projects that I've ever done that have like added up to being a few hours long have been things where I would do one part and release it, and then do another part and release it, and then at the end kind of like put everything together into a compilation. But this one's the first time I've just released something so long all at once, and it's the longest thing I've ever done. But man, I was working on it for about a year, but that's because just like a lot of learning went into it while I did it.
Yeah.
I've heard audiobooks do take a long time.
Well, I mean, it took 11 parts for me to do My Beautiful Nightmares book, and it's not even half as long as Coyote. I'm not being mean. I'm being honest.
Speaking of which, I need to read Coyote. I started reading it and got distracted, then forgot what I read, and now I have to go reread everything that I read before.
Well, like I said, I bought it, and it was softback. This was before you had the hardbacks available. And
yeah, it's in hardback nowadays.
I have a friend who really likes that type of book, so instead of holding on to it, I gave it to him for Christmas. So now I gotta buy it again.
Hopefully he enjoyed it.
Let me tell you, and I think Ronnie could at least feel half of my struggle. Narrating and reading with dyslexia and ADHD is a pain in the butt.
I don't have dyslexia, but I do have ADHD. I imagine dyslexia makes it 10 times harder. Yeah, I make a lot of mistakes when I record. Like this most recent audio I just recorded and finish up today, it's about 40 minutes. Like the finished product's about 40 minutes, but the recording, like once I was done recording, the audio file was 2 hours long, and then I had to edit out an hour and 20 minutes worth of mistakes because of how much I stutter and stuff, and when I have to redo the takes and stuff.
Yeah, that's struggle's real. So so it sounds like when you narrate, do you just keep going and leave all your mistakes in, or do you do it by paragraphs and then just re-listen to it to make sure it sounds good and then delete your mistakes from there?
I just I start record, like I hit record and then I start reading it, and then whenever I make a mistake, like if I'm just halfway through a sentence, I mess up and say the wrong word or something, I'll then just add a marker and then just keep reading. Like obviously I'll redo it to make sure I do it correctly, and then I'll just keep reading. And then once I'm done, I'll go through and I'll kind of like stitch together all of the correct takes. And so like every single story that I've ever uploaded is like an amalgamation of like hundreds of different takes of sentences and paragraphs that I will kind of like Frankenstein together to make one video track that doesn't have any mistakes in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So what I do, and I got this from As the Raven Dreams, is
And me.
I'll read, and if I mess up a sentence, I'll stop, I'll delete that sentence, and I'll pick back up from there, and I'll just continue until I can get the sentence to flow flawlessly. And it does increase your recording time by a lot, but it also reduces your editing time by a lot as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's that's a good way to do it too.
I have a question from the chat, which we haven't actually gone through, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. When is the 5-hour story coming out? Any update? Really looking forward to it. From Mambui Musanda. I hope I said that right.
So with that video, that's another video that I've been working on over the last year that I had similar issues to that I did with Coyote, but just with how things were going, I wanted to make sure I got the Coyote done first, and mainly because that's on Audible, and then the one for the channel is just like another story, so it had like it can wait a little bit more. But yeah, the with that I'm having similar issues to what I had with Coyote, so I'm dealing with trying to render out certain tracks without FL Studio crashing, because there's a certain instrument that I used in that pretty much throughout the entire thing that is causing some sort of memory leak or something. I'm not sure. Every time I try to open up the project file, FL Studio starts using up all of my computer's RAM to the point where my computer will crash, or just FL Studio will crash. And so I'm trying to figure out how to fix that. Once I figure out how to, then I can get everything exported. But I don't have a definitive time frame on when that will be fixed, but I am hoping within the next few weeks at the most.
Okay. Pimp Demon says, my favorite story narrated by Somnium is between We Should All Fear the Old Horns or part 6 of I'm a guard stationed in a secret government prison. That one's good. Clint versus the warden is the greatest fight.
The soundtrack for Fear the Old Horns is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of my favorite tracks by you. I mean, I've got a lot of favorite tracks by you too. But
yeah,
well, thank you.
I think the one story that blew me away, like sound wise, and I know this had to take you forever, is the one about the drugs and why they never do it again, and like the guy's like they're staring at me like it should break his neck or something. Like you know the story I'm talking about, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, I don't do drugs anymore.
The sound, the sound design, and that was nuts, dude. Blew me away.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was that one's pretty interesting, because when I did that, I actually mixed the whole thing in 7.1 surround sound, and all of the sound effects were supposed to come out of like different speakers if you had a home audio system. But then after doing all of that, and uploading it, I found out that YouTube down mixes everything to stereo, so it doesn't matter because it all got down mixed to stereo anyway, and I don't have the original file.
So you did all that extra work for no reason.
Yeah, because I'm terrible at organizing and keeping track of stuff, so I only have the version that I got off of YouTube now. But that's why trying to be better at organization.
Yeah, I understand that. We really should say hello to everybody in chat. We've got Pimp Demon. Oh my goodness. Blah, blah, blah. That's my sound for you screwed up. Blah, blah, blah. Dexter.
We got the sexy Dexy in the house.
Possessed Radio.
What up, Steven, my dude?
Mambwe Musanda. Thank you. I'm glad I hope I said it right again.
We got Lilith.
And it looks like that's the only ones talking right now.
Earlier we had Big Dave C. So if you're here, hello. And one of my
thought
personal favorite peeps, Big Daddy Stone.
I was gonna say I thought
He
I
was
saw
here
Big
earlier,
Daddy Stone
so-
in here. But I hope everybody makes it back if they aren't back already. And please remember, surrounded by death and disease, working too hard. Oh, Stephen. And that's what happens when you work in the medical field right now. There's
Big Daddy Stone is indeed still here. He just yeah. So Big Daddy Stone, I'm gonna tell you this because every time I watch one of your videos, it pops in my head. During your intro, and it just says Big Daddy Stones, my brain immediately underneath that puts Productions. I think you just need to add that Big Daddy Stone Productions. It's got a nice flair to it.
See, that's what screwed me up this week or last week. I was trying to get a hold of Yaman, and I forgot that he's got Yaman Productions in the name on Twitter. Yeah. That happened.
I have a question
So,
for. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yes, you
but
are.
I have a
Yep,
question
go for it, bro.
For J.M. Nelson. All right. So, what? I don't know if you've told me this, just separately. I have terrible memory, but when you were writing, or when you decided to write Coyote, what was the reason, or not the reason, but like what inspired you to write that? Because it's so different from what you normally write.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so basically, back in, I think it was 2015, I had kind of made, I came up with the calf scene. It just like popped in my head, and I was like,
but why is he retired?
That's kind of crazy. So I wanted to keep that, so I kind of started writing like little notes and things here and there. And then honestly, I just didn't think I was a strong enough writer to write that book. I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with it or how I wanted to do it. And then in, I think it was 2018, a friend of mine was like, he was going through some of my screenplays and was like, dude, you need to write a Western. Like, you need to write a badass like Western. I think you could do it. And I was like, man, I'd love to. That's like one of my favorite film genres. I love old school Westerns. And I was like, well, funny enough, I have this idea. And he was like, well, dude, you write it up as a script. So I did. And he read it and loved it. And, I did all my drafting process through the screenplay for like a year, and I just kind of fell in love with the story and put a lot of, I guess, myself into it. So I really just kind of fell in love with it. Couldn't let it go. Just couldn't let it collect dust. I was like, man, I really want to get this. I really want to get this out there. So I decided to write it as a novel. And so I spent another year basically starting from the beginning and writing it as a novel, and had it.
That's cool.
So long process to getting it to where it is nowadays, but it's happy I did it.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing book, man. It's definitely one of my favorites, like, that I've ever read.
I appreciate that.
It's it's funny to hear that the calf scene was what you first thought of. Think about that. You thought about that and was like, yeah, I can write a whole book out of this. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like it was that was the scene. It was a little bit different in the obvious. Well, I mean, it wasn't as brutal in the initial draft. It was I had read I reread the book Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy like every year, and that was like the year that I really started doing it, and that was like the year that I had like revisited it. And there's the scene where Jackson like I can't remember exactly what happened in the particular scene that made it click, but there was a scene with Jackson trying to catch something and he couldn't. And then towards the end of the book, it's sort of when the kid turns into the man and he's wandering the wasteland that is the Great Plains with all the dead bison everywhere, rotting and decaying. It's like it clicked in my head, and I was like, bison calf, and it was like these two kids that were trying to wrangle like bison calves, and then me just wanting to ramp it up went absolutely crazy with it, and you did absolutely phenomenal on the sound design in the audiobook. I remember hearing it for the first time and being like, holy shit. It was fantastic.
Thank you so
one
much,
of the
man.
darker scenes I've probably ever written, but yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for JM.
I'm glad that. Sorry?
All right, go ahead. You finish your thought.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that
interrupt.
because I was just going to keep talking about how much I like it. But
So I actually have a question for JM, but before I do, I want to make sure I didn't give Pimp Demon false information. He had a question for you, Ronnie. He wants to know what happened to the 24-hour game.
So with that, there was an issue between me and the author where, so we had made an agreement that I would, pay him, whatever, like half whatever, I would give him 50% of whatever the video made. And I did that for about, I think it was like 2 years. But I have very bad memory and I'm not very organized. And this is an issue I've had before, and I've been making sure to work on it. But they weren't consistent payments. Like it'd be like I'd pay him every 3 months for like the last 3 months because I would forget to do it every single month. But after like 2 years of that, he just said that I think I'm like, my memory thing is like becoming an issue right now too, because I'm not sure if it the exact wording, but he said something along the lines of I needed to pay him like X amount of money, and I had to also take down the video. That was the 24-hour game, and the Tales of a Rookie Storm Chaser, because I guess he was just like fed up with the fact that I was so inconsistent about paying. But yeah.
Darn it.
I heard someone say that they thought it got taken down because the author sold the rights to someone, to like Netflix or something, to make like a movie or TV show out of it. That's actually what I heard. Ignore what I told you.
I believe that was Borasaka. I think, I don't know if my memory serves me right, but I believe you were going to do that, right? I think that's how you say it, Borasaka.
Baraska.
Baraska. Thank you. Baraska. Thank you.
I did that one a few years ago. It was kind of funny because I had the whole thing recorded, and I had the whole thing, like I talked to the author and gotten permission, and then I had the whole thing recorded and all that stuff, and the music done and the sound design, and I was gonna upload it, but it took me a while to do it. Like it took me a few months. And so since it had been a while, I wanted to touch base with the author again before posting it. And I messaged her letting her know I was going to post it and stuff. But then she replied saying that she had actually sold the rights to the story and asked me not to post it. So I ended up just deleting the audio. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's the one you're thinking of that got sold, but
that might have been. So back to the question I had for JM. JM, what book did you enjoy writing the most, and out of all the ones you've done, and which one was actually the hardest for you to write?
Coyote on both of those.
Coyote on both of those.
Yeah. So Coyote was very okay. So just into my process a little bit. When I was writing short stories, like religiously, getting them narrated, kind of wheeling and dealing on Reddit, trying to get my name out there, stuff like that. I would write about 2,500 words a day. That was kind of my consistency for years, since college. And if I was working on a screenplay, it would be anywhere between 10, 15 to 20 pages a day, like nonstop. And then during the process, next day I might hate it and just delete it and start back over and retry it. Did that with Among the Court of the Snag King like crazy. However, with Coyote, it was the first time that it was so exhausting. I went from 2,500 words a day writing the novel to 1,000 words a day, and then in some cases it would only be about like 500. It was just taking a lot out of me. Trying to get it right, make it sound good, make it flow. So yeah, I would say that it was probably the hardest thing for me to write, and probably my favorite thing that I've written. If it's not my favorite thing overall, it's my favorite book that I've written for sure. But it is, I would have to probably say A Song for a Student, which is a dark Somnium exclusive. I actually wrote that specifically for Ronnie and his sound design and his music for his channel. That was, I think, in 2018, maybe. It was like the last thing I wrote before I started working on Coyote. And I think that's probably my favorite thing that I've written, because it was, I call it like, I don't know, that sounds negative, but like a gimmick story. It was all about music, and it's all about sort of the artist's struggle, and Ronnie just absolutely knocked that one out of the park, and I absolutely adore that story. So it's kind of a toss-up, but different beast, I suppose.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I really like that one too, and those are like my favorite types of stories to do, where it like, has music in mind when it's being made, because then I can do so much more with it,
Yeah, that I really like that one.
So Possessed Radio wants to know, Jam, he asked it a minute ago. I believe his exact question was, what story do you look for? What do you look for? Nope, that's not it. He was asking pretty much what story you haven't had narrated yet that you really narrated.
Yeah, it was Dexter.
Okay.
That was Dexter.
What story haven't I had narrated that I do want narrated, or that I would like to have narrated?
Send it to me.
I don't know. There's not one in particular that really kind of stands out that it's like, oh, if only. I mean, there's been before, back in the days when I was working a lot on short stories. I did this one that's in Seven Spires called Le Chien des Monts, and I was really, really, really trying to get somebody to pick that up and do that. And I had a couple of offers, and two people ended up narrating it. One was Rambling Ram, who I do not believe narrates anymore, and then Dead Man Talking's Forest of Fear also picked that one up, and they're both like fantastic narrations. But I think that was like the last time I really had a story, and I was like, man, I really want to hear this one. I really want to hear it. All of the other ones, like, I mean, doesn't bother me at all. I enjoy pretty much anybody's rendition of it. Like, I think there's like 5 or 6 different versions of like Among the Court of the Stag King, and we were talking before the stream about sort of how everyone kind of does their own takes and things like that, and I love hearing them. Regardless, I always kind of
cool. Chemistry is cool. That's cool.
I don't know. I always really kind of admire, I suppose, the people's efforts in trying to capture what I've put on, and fan art and stuff like that. It's kind of all the same. It doesn't really, there's not really a story that stands out to me, I suppose, any more than it's like, oh, I have to have it narrated. I think any of them are fine. And now that I've been so far, it's been so long since I've written in the Seven Spires universe, it's always kind of nice just to go back regardless with those stories. So to answer, I guess, in a roundabout way, it doesn't bother me, or there's not one in particular, I'd say.
Stephen did have a question. The question was, what do you look for in a story to read? And I'm guessing that's for Ronnie.
Yeah, I was going to assume that's Ronnie.
Well, I guess there's a very specific type of tone that I really like in stories. It's hard to come by, but I mean, I'm not picky with stories, and what I like to read isn't like, a very specific, no, I'm not explaining this very well. I like stories that are like emotional, or that have like a good sense of um like I don't know if mystique is the right word, but just like there's a story I did a while ago uh about this kid whose
Ask me how many
brother
times I did
dies, but
chemistry
then
in
like
calculus.
his brother's corpse keeps talking after he's dead,
And I'm not
and like the voice that's coming out of his brother's
saying
corpse
that it's not
is
important to
telling him
learn
what
it.
he's
I'm not
seeing
saying
in the afterlife. And
it is
it's
important to
just
learn
like
these
this like
things.
gray plane, like this gray
What I'm saying is that the
like
kids
this
are protected.
gray, like the
Every
ground
kid
is
is
all
a little
gray,
bit
there's
different.
nothing, it's like a barren wasteland, and there's him and like thousands of other dead people that are all walking in the same direction, and he's describing how they're like all walking towards the end, essentially, and stuff like that. And there's like stories like that usually have like a sense of like what's going on, like what is happening. It's almost confusing in a way, but it's confusing in not in a I don't like this because it's confusing way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
um but I don't know, I like stories that don't really tell you what's going on so that you can draw your own conclusion. One thing that I really like is when I see people in the comments saying what they think happened in the story, and then if I see like lots of people having different conclusions to the story, I really like that, because I like when stories are more personal to the people who are consuming them, or like reading them or listening to them. And the stories that do that best, in my opinion, are the ones that let you decide for yourself what certain things meant instead of telling you
Mm-hmm.
what it meant, you know?
Mm-hmm. Letting you draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
Casey, hi Casey. Casey Weiralien has joined
Hey,
us, and
Casey.
so has
His
Furberries.
Furberries.
Now I can't answer this one. So, Ronnie, you're gonna have to answer it because I don't think PA can answer it either. Um,
What's
Lilith asked, "Is that the what you were talking about with the one author? Is that common type of deal with creepypasta narrators?"
I can't really say for sure because I don't know if other narrators have had this issue. Um, I haven't had it happen often, uh, but I assume that a lot of other narrators are probably better at keeping track of things than I am. So I assume they don't really have those issues because they're probably just uh, better at making sure that they don't miss payments. You know, like it's something that when I first started, I didn't realize how just how bad my organizational skills would impact things like that. I kind of was just like, yeah, I'll definitely remember to do this, but then, you know, a month later, I have to be reminded of it, stuff like that. I'm sure most other narrators don't have those issues, so I've always thought it's just something I've solely dealt with because I've needed to be better at just like organization and planning and keeping track of things, which I've been working on, and it hasn't really been an issue in, I'd say, like a year or two at least. But yeah.
Yeah, most of mine are people that I have asked, and they've said, "You don't have to worry because you're so small. You're not getting any income on this," and I'm not. So, I don't have to pay it, or I wrote it, so I wrote it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the best way to not have to deal with issues like that, is if you make your own stories. But I'm not good at writing at all. There's so many people who are so talented at writing, but I'm just not one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, or I get CCBYSA. Yeah, that's it. Like as the Raven Dreams. But have we lost PA?
No, I'm here. I'm just listening to you. Listening to you guys. I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay. Let's see. Going through there. We've answered all the questions that chat has right now, unless somebody wants to put one in. I'm going to put one in for our missing jelly bean for both of you. If you are in a house and you are completely alone, all the windows and doors are locked, and there is absolutely nobody else in the house, and you hear a fart, are you scared or are you laughing?
I mean, definitely scared. Definitely calling the police and being like, "All right, the person who broke into my house,
just farted."
Yeah, it's farting. There's somebody in my house, So I'd be scared. That definitely is not the last thing I want to hear before I die.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty terrifying. Like, I mean, it's like the same thing. Like if like you're crawling into bed at night, and then you just hear someone rip one from underneath the bed, right? That's absolutely terrifying, regardless, right?
I think it would be. Jelly Bean likes that question. She says she would giggle, but Ray says that's because she giggles at everything.
Oh.
So,
what happens if it's a ghost fart?
Well,
call Zach Bagans and the paranormal teams to come out and investigate the gassy ghost, right?
Yeah.
Chuckle
Good
Bunker.
name for a story.
I can't say it. Chuckle Bunker was decent, according to Dexter.
Oh, thanks, Dexter. Yeah, we got a real fan in here.
Uncle Ronnie's Chunkle Bunker. That's a old one.
Yeah.
All right, Steven, you have a good night, buddy.
You have a good night on. He's gonna go for the evening. I had a question.
So
you said when we were talking. When we were talking earlier, Ronnie, you said that you had a lot of music that is basically unfinished, finished, sitting around waiting to be decided on if it will ever be published or not.
Right.
And I imagine JM has a lot of stories that are that way. How many times do you guys go back to those and look at them and say, well, maybe I should do something with this time?
Well, I do it quite frequently because even though I don't release those songs, I still use them. Like I have all of them in a certain folder where I render down my audio tracks, but they don't have names, so they're all just called like, I don't know, pattern 1 _ consolidated such and such, because they don't have actual names, so it's just whatever the rendered file was automatically named. But when I'm doing narrations, I'll kind of just like listen through the hundreds of tracks that I have in there and be like, okay, this one would go good in this story right now, and then I'll put it in the background. So sometimes people will ask me like, hey, what was the song that was at this time in the video? And I'll have to say it's a song that I never actually finished. When I do that, I'm always like, I really want to finish this, but at that moment, it's not like the best time for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna go finish this now, because I'm only hearing it because I'm working on a story, and then I always forget to come back to it when I'm not working on a story, because I can only really finish it when I'm like inspired to finish it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. What about you, JM?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. I mean, yeah, I've got loads. I say loads. I've got quite a few stories. I mentioned earlier when we were chatting that there was a few that I written that didn't make the cut for Seven Spires. Some of them were completed, some of them were not. Just wasn't a big fan of them. Just something wasn't working about them, so I put them on the back burner. And there was this one particular story. It had a working title. I just called it Necromancy, or On Necromancy. And it was this really interesting idea that I had where this I don't know. I don't want to go into specifics, but basically, I split. There was 2 ideas in it, and I split the ideas, and I ended up using one of them, which appears in Coyote, which is actually where the title comes from. And then the other one, I just finished the 3rd draft of a screenplay that I've been working on, using the other part of that sort of original idea from like years ago. So, I mean, I revisit ideas all the time. It's just how long it takes me to get back to those ideas, I suppose, is what's I guess the hard part.
I understand that completely. And hello, Christine Baker.
Hello, Christine.
Hey, Chris.
Um,
So,
Winnie
JM, you got anything in the pipeline right now you're working on?
Me?
Yeah.
Story wise, like short story wise, no. I did. I did write a short story. It was like a simple, like 2-page short story that I did about a month ago, just to kind of try to get back into the swing of it, based off a screenplay I'd written. But I'd condensed it quite a bit, kind of taken this kind of southern folksy sort of retelling of a story that they had heard from somebody else, which was like essentially the screenplay. And that was kind of fun. That was like an interesting thing. I'm not too happy with the story. I'm going to revisit it, put it on the back burner. We'll get to it again, because I also want to rewrite that script. I've also been kind of working on a book, kind of not, kind of have, kind of not. But mostly been really focused on my screenwriting and really trying to I'm sending out queries and stuff for some of these scripts I got backlogged, including the script for Coyote, the original one. Still trying to sell it after all this time. But, you know, soon, TM, we'll have, something will be out, I promise, eventually.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Winnie Pig, I hope I said that right, has a question for Ronnie. Do you normally make your songs before you hear a creepypasta, or match a song you already have up with it?
It depends on a few things. Normally, I try to write something new, but if I already have a song that I feel like fits perfectly with what's going on in the story, then I'll usually use one of the ones that I've already made. But sometimes I'll realize that I don't have anything, and so I'll write something new. But I normally, when I do write music for stories, it's normally as I'm doing the sound design for it. Like I'll be laying down the sound effects and stuff like that, and then at the same time I'll have my instrument tracks open with all that stuff loaded, and then I'll be like just kind of making it as I go, which is one of the reasons, unfortunately, why I've been having issues, why I had so many issues with Coyote, and why I'm having issues with the 5-hour long video that I've been doing, is because I just overloaded my computer, I guess, and the project files take up so much RAM that when I try to open them now, because of all the instruments that I was using, they just crash. So.
All right. And Pimp Demon said, Void is one of the greatest songs by Dark Somnium.
Oh, thank you.
That's...
Thank you very much.
I would have a hard time pinning it down, that exact. I could probably have like 10 or 20 that I would... PA can tell you I hate the favorite question, because I have a very hard time pinning it down to a single one. So
I just read this question from Pimp Demon. I just read this question from Pimp Demon. JM, do you like cookies?
I'm not. I like. I'm one of the sacrilege people. I love a good oatmeal raisin on occasion. But you know,
raisin cookies are delicious.
Oh my god, they're amazing. I get so much shit for like that's really like the only cookie I really like. I do like a good tag along Girl Scout cookie on occasion. But yeah, that's not a big part of my diet.
Winnie Pig
I'm
has
a
a
man of
question.
simple tastes. I love peanut butter cookies.
Winnie Pig has a question for JM. Have you ever made a creepy pasta around a creepy or any song that you've heard?
Yes, I have. So, A Song for a Student is actually the music that I had in my head that I'm actually that is actually described during the orchestra scene. Ronnie made the original track for that, mixing in Court of Kings with his new song that he made for it. But actually, when I was writing it, it was I wrote it around sort of the intro being Court of Kings, which Ronnie picked up on. But I also the song that I focused on and listened to describe was actually Under the Horizon by the Dark Somnium.
Ooh,
Oh,
So a little
really?
fun fact. Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
interesting.
Yep.
You know what's funny? What's funny about that is I was actually looking at the comments of my music channel last night for like the, not that I never get on there, but since I usually tend to check out the comments on my main channel, there's like I won't look at the comments on my music channel for a few weeks at a time, and then I'll go back and try to get caught up on it. But I was doing that last night, and somebody had commented on that song, and then I was looking through them, and then I remember I saw your comment on that song, JM Nelson, and then I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's really cool. I'm so glad JM Nelson likes that song. And then here we are today talking about it. So that's interesting.
Yeah. That
Wow.
was that was the song that one, and then the Entity as well that you did for the Left Right game. That one's one of my favorite ones that you did. But yeah, that one was just to kind of be on like a playlist that I had when I write as well. Yeah, the Entity is a fantastic piece.
Oh, thank you.
It
Thank
is
you
a
so
good
much.
one.
Yeah, I really liked doing the music for that one. I listening to that now, if I remade it, there's a few things I'd change, but that's mainly just in the mixing.
Yeah, there's quite a few tracks that I like really like, and like I mean Feed the Pig, the narration that you did for Feed the Pig is probably one of my favorite narrations that you've ever done. But when during the pig scene and Melancholy Nights comes in, man, that song slaps. I love the hell out of Melancholy Nights. I gotta promote your music a little bit because it's fantastic. Which, fun
Thanks so much,
fact,
man.
he
I'm
also
pretty
did an
sure.
entire album for Coyote, but
Oh, really?
yeah, because Audible does not like music tracks. It kept like cutting it out on every chapter except for the first chapter. So there's
Ah.
Yeah.
songs, there's music at the beginning of
What
Coyote,
a jerk.
but Audible just would not take it. We even tried to get it set up to where it would be in the first chapter and then in the last chapter, and it would just it wouldn't take it, and it was the same song. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, if you're interested,
That
if
is
you're interested,
weird.
I can show you the theme song I made for Coyote.
That'd be cool. Big Daddy
Oh, yeah,
Stone
that'd
for
be cool.
JM. Any brand new story? You kind of answered this. Any brand new stories coming out that you're excited about, or any collaborations with Dark Somnium?
Ronnie and I have talked about sort of some of the Seven Spires pieces. I believe while he was working on Coyote, I gave him Isle of the Dead, but uh, no ETA on that. But yeah, he's got another one, but and Dexter has one as well. I believe Dexter has Among the Ruins, I believe. I have to remember like one specific line out of the story to remember what the fuck the story's about. But yeah, I think he's got Among the Ruins.
Dexter says,
Still need to get a JM story on my channel.
Ronnie, Follow Me is one of my absolute favorites. It comes right out of a Miyazuki film. I know
Miyazaki.
I'm Miyazaki.
Ooh, that's quite the compliment.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Dexter's also asking, when do I get a collab with you again, and where I get to torture a guy named Thomas?
Well, that's very specific, so I'm not 100% sure on when that opportunity will come up, but we can definitely do something together soon.
I mean, if you want, I could definitely write you a story where a guy named Thomas gets tortured. I can make that happen. I've written stories off sillier premises.
Dexter's dreams. Oh, sorry.
So, I said I've written stories off sillier premises. Creepy Clown Girl one day said, "I bet you can't write a story where a bunch of people walk outside and get turned into human icicles or human popsicles." I did.
Yeah, that happened really fast.
And that story slaps.
Nice.
Why is this? There we go. Sorry.
I've never met a challenge that I won't take up.
Well, you know, I picked up the cat story I'm going to do that I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do it. And I've got the Peep story.
So, Ronnie, yeah. So, Ronnie, I'm mildly curious. Somebody mentioned that 5-hour story. What's that about, or what's the title of it?
Oh, that one? That's about. So it's called the Nightmare Fighting Tournament, or the NF. Well, no, it's actually called the NFC because it's called. I'm going to name the video. I'm a commentator at a tournament for nightmares, and it's kind of like the prison series I did, but more so about kind of like an MMA tournament. And my character is an announcer, like a commentator, like the ringside, commentator. And it's about these like monsters and superpowered humans fighting each other. And it's written by TJ Lee, who's done a few stories on the channel, the bar series I did, and quite a few other ones actually. Some shorter ones, but that's probably the one that most people will know.
Yeah, I remember the bar series, and I also remember the other one you mentioned. You guys brought it up, but I think I've told you multiple times. The left-right game is still probably my favorite series on your channel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories.
I ever get bored at work, I just throw the left-right game on.
Nice. Yeah, I would like to remaster it sometime, but since it got sold to that one place, I don't know if I'm able to. I'd have to check with the author.
I
don't know if it got sold to them. I just know people did a narration of it too.
So, general question from Winnie Pig. Do you ever find yourself getting too caught up in your creations? If so, what emotions do these specific creations invoke?
Well, when I do narrations, I don't know, like I feel like I'm a very empathetic person, and so when I do narrations, it's fairly easy for me to kind of like bring up emotions that aren't actually there, just because I imagine like, well, I am this person in this story, so what would I be feeling if I was really them? Normally, it's usually like sadness and fear, but yeah, I normally like the stories that will actually get some sort of like response out of me where I've gotten caught up in it are usually the sadder ones. Yeah, I really like stories like that because I do enjoy being able to connect with stories like that. I've never really gotten scared of a story while I've been narrating it, simply because I'm listening to my own voice, and it's impossible. I don't know if anybody could sit there and legitimately scare themselves by telling themselves a creepy story. You know what I'm saying? Like just because you've heard your own voice for your entire life, I don't know. I've never been able to I have gotten kind of creeped out by like re-listening to the finished product before, on like one or two occasions. But during it, while I'm making it, I've never really gotten caught up in like the fear aspect of any of the stories.
Yeah. I've creeped myself out with my voice a few times, and it's generally when I'm playing someone who's like sadistic serial killer, and I listen to my own voice, and it just sounds like I'm like it just sounds like what I imagine this dude just enjoys torture would sound like, and I'm like, I'm a little worried that I'm a little too good at projecting that certain emotion here. That might be worrisome.
Yeah, it might be.
But how, how about you, JM? Have you ever gotten caught up in something you're creating emotion wise? So what emotions?
Yeah, I mean, so that's sort of kind of how I come up with a lot of the ideas in a way, I guess. So like, just off my most popular Stag King, for example, like the idea and how it evolved and changed would came from sort of what feeling I wanted to give and what feeling I was thinking when I was laying out sort of, I guess, the general concept of a deer coming out of a tree. But it wasn't really something scary, but it was something about regret and guilt. And like, that's like when you're kind of putting that on the page, like, I kind of draw from, I guess, my life and my friends, and all of that when you're trying to like captivate some of those emotions. So yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. And I mean, the same thing happened with Coyote. That's why it was so draining. It's why it went from writing 2,500 words down to 1,000. And so, I mean, it's pretty much in everything. It's just how it goes for me. Song for a Student, I think, I want to say it's only like 3,500 words, I think, but it took me 2 days to write that one as well. Just sort of kind of trying to put that on the page too. It's just how it goes. Nature of the beast, I suppose. I try to put as much emotion to it as I possibly can.
Yeah. So what do you pick? Just said sadistic serial killer, simple question mark, and my response was, you think it might be, but to put yourself in a mindset of a person that enjoys inflicting that kind of pain, a lot of people find exhausting. Me, I can slip in and out of that character. Like I'm putting on a glove and taking it right back off.
Yeah, I unfortunately.
What were you saying, Mia?
Let's see. Dexter says, Ronnie, as you know, I played the guy that tortures the main character, and my job is watching a woman trapped in a room. But you might not know that I collaborated with Lucy on a story where the main character is called Thomas, and I'm a scientist experimenting on him too. That's scary, Dexter.
Nice. That's quite the coincidence.
You're playing the same type
Dexter.
of characters. Yes.
So Dexter, just for you.
And we have dice.
So Dexter, just for you, it dice rolling. So Dexter, just for you, I've already thought of a very general plot line for a story, where it's a town that every 10 years selects 10 people to hunt and kill to worship their god. I can make one of them named Thomas, and we'll just put a torture scene in there just for you.
Why not all of them
Done.
Thomas?
They're all named Thomas.
Dexter is just gonna.
And then yeah.
Oh God, yes, I'm gonna name them all Thomas just for Dexter.
And he'll just name his channel just Thomas from here on out.
Just Thomas. All of the stories are about Thomas, and then over time, all the characters in all the stories are Thomas.
And the name of the story is just Thomas. Just Thomas,
yes.
Part 1,
like that.
Part 2, Part 3.
Nah, it's just Thomas, Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah, Dad, I think you need to hire us for your marketing team. This is sounding excellent.
Yes.
You all
rebranding.
I can get away with it. You guys think I could get away with writing a Thomas the Train Engine, but make him a brutal serial killer that just has people do his bidding, ties unsuspecting travelers onto the tracks, runs them over without getting in trouble by the people who actually made Thomas the Train Engine?
I think there's a game about that.
You might have to be careful on making it too much like Thomas the Train Engine because you might run into copyright things. But
Thomas the Train Conductor.
Thomas Taffy, nice Big Daddy story.
Thomas Taffy.
And
Yes.
Dice rolling. I don't know if you
All right,
want
we
to
need
say
to
hi.
renew. Yes, hi, Dex. Well, also we just need to change the name of the stream to Dark Somnium, and JM Nelson talk about Thomas.
It's the Thomas stream. Thomas the Thomas thing.
It's the Thomas. It's the Thomas Traveler Tavern. It's the Thomas Tavern.
The Thomas
like
Tavern.
that.
How did I get typecast as a voice actor? I don't know, Dexter, but I enjoyed what I listened to of your channel this morning. No, I wasn't listening to YouTube this morning at all. No.
How do I get typecast and I'm playing the psychotic serial killer way too many times? We all have our strengths, apparently.
Yes.
I know exactly how you end up in that PA, but we're not going to go into that right now.
Wait. No. Now I need to know. How's this happen?
You know that giggle you got when you did what was the name of that story? The one with
That one?
Yeah, that one. That one. That's it. Right there. That's it.
My normal laugh.
Mm-hmm. The other one is the story about the lawyer and his assistant and his
Oh, God.
assistant's sister.
I get that one.
I can't remember the name
That
of it,
one.
but yeah.
I wrote that boss a little too well. Oh, the hell was that name of that story?
Not just the boss, you wrote the
I
sister.
don't remember. Oh, but no, I meant like the boss as being just an asshole. He was.
Yeah, and the sister was a
a
little
little
bit
too
more
good.
than psychotic.
He was.
Dice rolling, I don't know. I enjoy your stuff because you're always changing things around on me. Just when I think I got you in a hole, you're jumping out of it. But that's good because I don't like putting labels on people, and I like seeing people stretch their limbs, I guess is the right word.
Yeah, their limbs. Yes.
See, if Ray was here,
I like it
he'd
when
be.
you stretch your limbs.
See, if Ray was here, he'd be hitting that ad quote. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh my goodness.
Might have to add stretching the limbs to the people trapped in my basement. I mean, you guys didn't hear that.
Who needs limbs? Limbs are overrated.
What are limbs?
Right?
I have a friend who says that I would be a serial killer.
Go ahead.
I have a friend who likes to say that I'd be a serial killer if I wasn't as lazy as I.
Yes, pushing their limits, the envelope. Yes. I had to explain what drawn and quartering actually was in the way that it was actually used once upon a time. And I was told that I explained it way too well and seemed to enjoy explaining it. And we'll just let it go at that.
Nice.
See, to explain being drawn and quartered properly, I gotta role play. So I'm gonna strap you on this little device, and we're gonna show you what happens. All right? but don't worry, it won't hurt a bit.
I don't think I could actually describe that in a story on YouTube. I think that's a little bit more too graphic. I think that would be too graphic. Although the
Possibly.
History channels do go into it sometimes.
I mean that's just kind of. It's one of those things that I think as a writer, it's always a gamble, right? Whether like, is this too much? Is this not? It's how it goes. It's how it goes. It's part of the process.
I always feel like I
So,
haven't put it.
I
I
wrote a
haven't made it
story called
scary enough.
Reversion. So I wrote a story called Reversion.
Yes,
Reversion is about a dog that gets scratched by a dire wolf and starts reverting back to its more primitive natures. It eats the entire family, including the newborn baby in the crib, and I refer to the crib as a doggy bowl and the baby as a doggy treat. And I'm like, now let's see if we get any backlash. And the only thing I heard is, you hurt the dog! And I'm like, so we don't care about a baby getting eaten. That's what I've learned here. Babies are fair game.
It's like one of those things, man. Just like in I think in general, right? Like I was just watching The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, with my wife like a week ago, and he's got the little blue healer with him all throughout that movie, right? And it's just I remember being a kid and being like, man, I hope nothing happens to that dog. But like that's just something that happens in movies and books. Like if there's a dog or something, like just you gotta mentally prepare yourself. It's gonna die. Like it's gotta happen, right?
It's the old Yeller syndrome.
Yeah, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I
most
remember
of us
watching I
saw
Am Legend for the first.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry.
I think most of us have seen movies where it's like Old Yeller, where we get attached to the animal in the story. And yeah, I Am Legend. I haven't actually seen that, but I've seen that scene, and that hurts.
I was like, you don't. No, the humans, yes. The dogs, no.
Leave the doggies alone.
Unless they're tiny dogs, in which case they don't really count as dogs, they're cats. Good, Ronnie.
There's this one story I did called This Is Not a Suicide Note. It's about this guy who like goes house sitting, and then like the house. It's a story. It's one of those kind of abstract stories to the point where I'm not even 100% sure what happens, but it's either like the house is haunted or he's just going insane. And at one point he said like he's there with his dog, and then he thinks he's running out of food and stuff, so he eats the dog. But and a lot like in the story it doesn't say this, but he doesn't actually eat the dog. It's just that's part of the like he's going crazy thing. But the author made a follow-up like mini story that's only like 2 minutes long that says that the dog is fine. But I never did that, so most people think that the dog just got ate, and so like there are lots of people that will comment and say like, oh no, the dog, nah. But so I feel you.
Yeah, it's like man, we care less about children's lives and horror stories than we do dogs. I'm like, that's
well, Dice Rolling
that says something about society, I suppose.
Dice Rolling says children being harmed is less than animal being harmed. I think it goes, and at least in my mind, I'm thinking back to Pet Cemetery, where the baby or toddler, and I'm going to the original, dies and they bury it out there, and it comes back and starts killing the adults.
Yeah, like I love and hate the Pet Cemetery movies at the same time, because it's like, look, you just brought a dog or a cat back to life, right? And the dog and the cat came back different. They didn't come back quite right. And then they tried to kill you, and then you had to put them down. And now in your brain, you're like, but a human, if I bury a human out there, that can't possibly go wrong, right? No! Just stop!
Oh man, I love that book. I love Pet Cemetery. That was, and honestly, it's I'm sure some people have probably noticed in some of my short stories and things like that. The thought of imitation creeps me the hell out, right? Like I use it all the time because it's creepy as hell to me. But that and Pet Cemetery really, like, the book, when I read it, I was probably like 13. I think that was like the book that really kind of cemented it for me. And the movie, the one from, I think it's like 84, it's
With Denise Crosby
it's
and Herman Munster, the original
yes,
Herman
yeah,
Munster.
yeah. There's something about it that is so awesome that I love it. Also, Stephen King wrote that screenplay. Fun fact, he actually wrote for the screen. There's something about that original one that I just absolutely adore. And Church, the little blue cat that gets ran over and then buried out there and comes back, and desperation. There's something about Pet Cemetery that I just absolutely love, and the new one was okay. Not trying to dog on it, but it just didn't capture quite as much as what I loved about the original. Just something about it I love.
Yeah, I can't really talk about the new one because I haven't actually seen it yet. I had and this is something that I'm actually working on, kinda. I had a challenge made to a general horror group that I'm in, and it was basically make a review of a horror movie that came out the year you were born. And I couldn't even think of a movie that came out the year I was born that was a horror movie, because I really don't look at that type of thing. But I didn't realize that The Abominable Dr. Fives came out the year I was born. And I love that movie. It's one of Vincent Price's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just you gotta love it.
I watched this one Vincent Price movie called House on Haunted Hill recently, and it was pretty good.
Which one?
Fantastic.
It's called House on Haunted Hill, I think, with Vincent Price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh, sorry, the old one, like the black and white one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I actually prefer that one to the new one, but the new one's got qualities I like too. And then the new one's got a sequel. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but the sequel's pretty good. And Dice Roland says, my family had to watch Pumpkinhead last year. My mom asked if there were any children or animals in it. I said, yes, and she was wary. So I said, well, the dog isn't harmed.
I've never seen that movie, but I have
above that
seen
one. You missed a very important statement above that one. So Dexter just outed you, Ronnie. No one here knows it, but Ronnie reads some erotica.
Oh, really?
Reads erotica?
Yeah,
no,
believe you.
Was talking about.
He said read some erotica.
He's talking about how I never thought I was going to reach more than 10,000 subscribers. So back before I was at 10,000 subscribers, I would joke around saying that if I ever reached 10,000 subscribers, I would narrate erotica. I'm not going to do that. So that's just that. That just shows how I truly did not believe I was going to get more than 10,000 subscribers. But
well, actually, I think you would have a problem doing that on YouTube.
You could just censor it.
Not like that. Yeah, just censor it.
Bleep everything out.
Do it on an 18+ live stream and then take it down afterwards.
Yes, right.
So, that's what Vidith does. Vidith has read like Transformers erotica on a live stream and marked it 18+, and then just got rid of it the next after it was over. And let me tell you, Transformers erotica is weird as hell, but it is the puns that you can have like fun with while listening to someone read it is hilarious.
The puns were killer. I mean, they really were killer. Dice Roll, in my personal opinion, Pet Sematary 1989 is greater than Pet Sematary 2019.
I would agree with that statement.
I too. Whiny Pig, would y'all be for or against Hollywood adapting creepypastas in the movies?
I'm pretty sure they already are. There's at least 3 that I've done that I know are being made into movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worry about them adapting anything that isn't directly to script.
So I mean, you know, I'm all for it, I suppose. It just kind of depends, right? So like, I've always, I went to college to be a screenwriter, so that's why I write scripts and stuff all the time. But so I have a bias there. So, but as long as like it captures the essence of the work and it's building off of it, right? It can be something great. I don't have an issue with that. There's some great creepypastas that would I think be really really good visually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Tommy Taffy, just like off the top of my head, right? I think that would make a
Yeah.
great visual um, on screen, and I think it would kind of be pretty rad. But I don't know. I think as long as it honors the work, I don't have an issue with it. I say Hollywood to go for it as long as that, and they don't care as long as they can make money and just be true to the work, which I think is what a lot of people are always kind of apprehensive about, right? So
That's where I am because I don't want to see it. I don't want to see things slaughtered to where I mean they did a book recently. I'm not going to name the book, but and it wasn't really recently. It's been a few years now. Um, the only thing that even appeared to be anything like the original story to me was the title. It was that bad. And I'm
yeah, they
usually
do that. They do that.
I'm usually somebody who can find something good about a movie even if it's really bad, but that movie I you know, Whoopi Goldberg was in it. She couldn't save it. Oprah was in it. She couldn't save it. It was just bad.
Oh, we talk about The Color Purple?
No, no, no.
Okay, I was about to say, like, it's pretty good. It's pretty
No,
faithful.
this is since then they changed
Okay,
the base family dynamic.
gotcha.
They started out by having the whole nuclear of the family that's involved in the story completely changed, and that ruined the rest of it for me because you didn't have the interactions. They took away 3 kids and completely did away with them.
Well,
And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, they may not have had that much to do with the story, but it was part of the dynamic. You can't just make them disappear.
Well,
Hmm.
And by doing that, it was obvious they weren't going to do anything but the first book in the trilogy because, well, the twins were mainly part of the second book more than the first book. So it's just, I just was very upset with it. And it was one of my favorite books when I was growing up, so that made it even worse.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when they do that to something you really like.
Mhm. So, thought I saw another question here. But so what would you I don't know. This isn't a fair question to Jam because he writes scripts. He writes screenplays. Um,
Ask away.
what story would you be scared of handing over to Hollywood and letting them have it?
Stag King, hands down. Stag King. I won't even touch it for its own script. I've actually had, it's the story I'm most known for, and I like to think that it's because it's kind of mysterious. It has like a lot of like little fantasy elements in it and stuff like that too. But I think that sort of the Stag King's mystery is kind of what a lot of people like about it, and like a lot of people have heard or read or whatever the Stag King, but haven't read anything else in the Seven Spires universe. So like when there's this dead deer talking about the necropolis, and it's not ever really explored in that story, I think it sort of kind of creates this personal fear for whoever's reading it, right?
Right.
And I've thought about writing it as a screenplay. I've thought about maybe making a novel version of it. I've thought about all these other things that I could do with it. I've had people email and ask me if they could write like a use the Stag King in a story, or if they could continue to try to add on to that world or whatever. And every time it's like, no, I think it kind of that's the charm, and I think that's why it's still so popular. And so I don't think I would ever give that one up to be turned into a feature length film. However, if it was like an episode on like the Twilight Zone or something like that, or if they did like a short of it, maybe we can talk. But yeah, I just don't. I don't even know how you could come up with 90 minutes of content with the Stag King. So I would have to respectfully deny that one.
Okay. And Christine just got back from her internet going out.
Oh, welcome back.
I can understand that. My husband says anything that you write. he's always anything that you write.
I mean, it honestly just kind of depends, right? So like, it's tough for something like a short story, right? Like a short story, selling a short story to be turned into a movie or something, it's always going to have to differ because you have to beef up the content, right? You have to hit 90 pages and which is equivalent to 90 minutes, right? So that's always going to be tricky and very difficult if it's not a novel. But there have been some like excellent short stories that have been turned into movies and been turned into great adaptations. And it's tough. It's tough. It's a fine line, and I think it really ultimately comes down to what the production studio wants to do, what the writer of the original short story wants to do, what the writer of the screenplay wants to do, what the director wants to do. And if they're all in sync with each other, then you can make one hell of a banger. But if they're all wanting different things, then you're gonna get something crazy, which is kind of what happens a lot of the time, just because money talks, and you're trying to tailor something so you're getting the original people that were fans of it, and then you're trying to expand on that base as well, which that's just marketing. That's the name of the game, and that's tough. So
Yeah. I don't know. I remember when I was writing my first story that I wanted to get published, and being like, this will never be. It would be nice to see it as a movie, but it will never be a movie because I'm so involved with it that I couldn't allow somebody to butcher it, and if it got butchered, I wouldn't be able to handle it.
yeah, it'd be tough. It's always hard. I've been very fortunate that I haven't, I've never had like something that I've written turned into a movie or like a short film or anything like that. But it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the same feeling in a way, I guess, with narrations to a degree, even though it is like, your voice and stuff like that. But I've been very fortunate that I have, yet to hear a narration of my work that I haven't enjoyed or haven't like fallen in love with, and so it's been very fortunate. So maybe I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about that, and also being trained as a screenwriter at college, and how to do adaptations and stuff like that. So it's, I think I've got a bit of a bias there, but I think, it's fun.
Okay, I am putting y'all's links in. The first set is obviously the Dark Somnians. The second one is JM's website, Twitter, and Amazon Arthur link. And the last one is Coyote, which is also pinned to the top. I don't know if anybody noticed that earlier. Um, and
It's a good book.
unfortunately,
Not that I'm biased. It's a great audiobook. Not that I'm biased. Ryan
not
did
that
some
you,
fantastic work.
yeah, not that you have any
Def-
bias at all.
yes, it's definitely an amazing book, and I mean, with narrating, um, I think I can only do so much. It's if the source material, like anything I do, is just taking the source material and converting it to a different medium. So the book itself is amazing, and I yeah, the book I know. I think the book is amazing. That's what I wanted to add.
And your sound design on it is top notch too. Don't know if I've told you that
Thank
yet,
you.
but it's fantastic. I
Thank you.
You didn't have to go as hard as you did, but you did it for us. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun doing it because it's so different, and yes, yeah, it's so different from what I normally do, like the settings and just everything that happens. So it was really fun to do.
And hi, Fearsome. Fearsome Hero has joined us. Um,
Hello.
Hello, person. But
yeah,
has
Kristen.
anybody heard of I don't know, Amazon Prime? They're coming out with like a new like a Lord of the Rings show.
Yes, I haven't
Yeah.
watched it.
I saw a trailer for that.
I've seen many
I swear to
people
God.
complaining about it not being true to the source material.
I swear to God, if they mess that up and if they turn it into something atrocious, I will riot.
Yeah, I'm
That,
gonna hold off judgment until it's done, but we'll see. I'm a huge Tolkien fan.
me too.
I like
Same here.
I've I love his work, so I'm gonna reserve judgment until it releases. But I'm not excited. It's just kind of I don't know. I don't. It sounds depressing. I don't really get excited about a lot of movies and things, television shows, and stuff that are coming out these days. But
Yeah.
it's you find good gems here and there, right? Like just when I'm like, I'll give that a shot, and you find material, which I'm sure is kind of how the process goes for I don't know, like
Yeah.
the stuff that you guys narrate. I'm not a narrator, so like scrolling through stories or writing your own stories or whatever. So it kind of all kind of the same thing. You find those gems and stuff that you're like, oh, I've got to do this one or whatever. And I'm sure it's kind of the same feeling of like discovering like a new show or a movie that you were going to previously overlook or something. So
Yeah. All right. So, do either one of you have any other questions for us? Because you asked us a couple during the show.
Well, how long have you been doing these interviews? And what's like? I guess two-part question. How long have you been doing this? And what started it? What made you want to have a channel?
Um, okay, I have been writing since kindergarten. Um, Somewhere around here, I have an old kindergarten notebook that had poetry in it. Um, One was about pink elephants. I remember that one. It was like a 4-line poem, and I had one about a lunchbox, kid stuff, but I was still writing poetry. Um, and then that grew into stories. Um, I think I was 27 when I finished my first book. It still hasn't been published, but I actually completed the story to a book format. It's like 350 pages. Um, but when I was, I don't remember. I was watching oddities, Oddie's channel. I can't even remember the name of it. Obsolete Oddity. That's the name of the channel. And I was really enjoying. He was doing history, mystery type stories. which I was really enjoying, and that led to a couple of other things, and ended up with You Maker, and then Let's Read, and then it just grew from there. And after listening to those, and I'm sitting on the bed with my granddaughter, and we're talking, and I had just recently been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking there's so much that I want to share with her. And there's so much great literature and other things that I just want her to know and remember about me. And I remember my dad took a tape recorder with us when we went up to Indiana to see his family up there, and I had great grandparents and aunts and uncles up there that I'd never met, and he just got their family stories on audio tape, and this is before the internet. And I thought, I could put a YouTube channel together and put the stories that I love and that I'm writing and things like that on it, and that way not only could she have it, but if my son has a child or she has children, they could possibly still be able to enjoy those and know the things that I enjoy doing. And that's where my channel started. And I've been doing it since I actually did my first narration in the fall of 2019.
That's really cool. That's a really good reason, to start a channel. Yeah, that's really awesome.
And we bullied PA into starting a channel.
Oh, nice. That's equally
well.
as awesome.
So for me, I started writing on a whim. Like, I had an idea for a guy who was the last remaining blood descendant of Jesus Christ, and because of that, the devil possesses one male in every generation of their family just to torment them. And then they have a choice to make, and I either call it the choice, where they can say no and the devil will wipe out their entire family, the bloodline, or they can say yes and he'll just take one of them. And I thought it was a neat concept, so I figured I'd try my hand. And much like JM up here, I went through several drafts of that story where I got pissed off and I was like, you know what? This is trash. Goodbye. And I would just delete the entire story and start from scratch. But that kicked my writing off. And then as I was writing, people were like, oh, you have a good voice, which I completely disagree with. I hate my voice on a cellular level. They're like, you should start narrating. And so 242 Reads actually was like, hey,
hold on. You'd been doing voice work for a lot of people before that.
I still hated my voice.
Yes, but we
all
were like, well, you're doing voice work for everybody else, and you're writing, so why don't you just do a channel? And we kept pushing you and pushing you and pushing you.
But yeah, so they all badgered me, and then finally I said, fine, I'll try my hand. And 242 Reads, she helped me get like Audacity, learn Audacity. Then As the Raven Dreams helped me get the original editing software I started off with, and so 42 helped me, make my first video, taught me how to make my thumbnails, and we had everything ready, like all set up. And this is where the mind trick came in, because I thought she was just helping me, right, teaching me how to do it. No, she's like, well, you have the video made up, why don't you just post it now?
Aha. Get pranked, nerd.
Should have saw that coming.
Yeah, you should have.
I stopped for a second. I'm like, should have seen this coming. But yeah, so they bullied and manipulated me into starting a channel.
Beautiful.
Until this day, I still don't understand why anybody enjoys the sound of my voice.
I think that's natural. I think that, our exterior voice sounds a lot different than it does to us, to the way that we hear it inside of our heads. And so, like, when we hear it, it's just kind of like jarring and unpleasant. At least it is. It's like, I totally understand where you're coming from and what you're saying on that.
Well, it also
feel about my voice too.
It also, I mean, when I speak, you're hearing it from your vocal cords to your ears. when you're listening to it having been recorded, it's coming at you instead of coming from you, and it sounds different.
Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah, it's weird, you know.
I don't like my voice at all, but I actually had somebody that was new to my channel and said, you should really, really think about doing other narrations. Because people do narrations all the time on YouTube, and I'm going, have you ever looked at the rest of the stuff on the channel? But I took it as a compliment and said thank you.
Well, I think you both have great voices.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. But fun fact in that rant, I missed the one thing that I could have been writing for a long time had anyone just literally told me this tiny tidbit of information a little sooner. Apparently, one of my old teachers from middle school / high school, because she went to the high school as well, said that I had a natural gift for writing. That I just needed to work on my grammar and punctuation a bit. And I'm like, why didn't you just tell me that? Because I enjoy it, and I would have probably been a lot further with my writing had someone just given me that little bit of motivation.
Yeah, I think there's been, I hate to say this, but I think the school systems have had a really bad switch, where most of the teachers aren't teaching to inspire and to critical thinking type skills. They're teaching to get a standardized test that the kids have to take.
Yeah, it's hard to really, take pride in your job when you get paid so little in some cases,
Yeah, and teachers do get paid way less than they should. And then they have to turn around and use half of that or more of that money to have things for their classrooms because the school system doesn't provide.
Right.
I've got a friend who's a teacher, and every summer she has to paint her classroom herself. Buy the paint, buy the brushes and everything, and go in there and paint the classroom herself.
My sister's a teacher, and I can attest that they do, in fact, have to buy a lot of their own supplies.
It's not fair. I was an engineer.
No, and here's the thing.
I didn't have to buy my desk. I didn't have to buy the paper I worked on, my notebooks, computer, or anything like that. And then turn around and, my kid's teacher just wants bulletin board paper so she can do bulletin boards for the class. Yeah, it just doesn't seem right.
Here's the thing that a lot of people don't mention, especially teachers, because they don't want to sound like they're complaining about their job, because a lot of teachers do actually still enjoy their job, even though they get paid crap. The parents just expect the teachers to buy the stuff that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I've had my sister several times, ask her students, hey, can you guys bring in, if you have, glue, just bring it in from your house. That way, you help, that way if we don't have enough bottles for everyone, there's extra bottles or whatnot. And parents got angry at her because she asked them to
help
bring stuff from home.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you do realize that the school doesn't pay me back for any of this, right?
Yeah. It's just teachers, policemen, and I have to say law enforcement, not just policemen, firemen. Those are the ones that aren't paid enough in my book. They just, teachers are teaching our children who are going to be the ones leading our country when we're dying.
All right. Yeah, it's just a shame that. Okay, and I'm not a teacher, but I do work in the healthcare aspect of where I go into somebody's home and help take care of them. They have because they can't do everything themselves, and I don't think I should be getting paid as much as teachers or cops or nurses or doctors, but I should be making more money than a dude flipping a burger at McDonald's.
I'll agree with that. Yeah. Actually, Christine, that may have been where you were, but it wasn't where I was. I actually, my senior year, I was a student helper for a teacher, and I got to find out a lot of the things that she provided that I just didn't know that teachers had to get on their own. I mean, I was going in and grading papers for her during my free period so that I could help her out. Or I'd put a bulletin board up for her. She'd give me what she wanted and I'd put it together for her. You know, and you don't, we send the kids to school from 8 to 3 or 8 to whatever. But the teachers are usually there from 7 to 5 or 6. And then when they get home, they got to work even more because I guarantee you they didn't finish grading papers.
So apparently someone's voice is hot, and I'm not sure who the person's referring to.
And we're all nerds, but I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek.
I'm a very nerdy geek. I'm all the above.
Nerdy geek. I don't know that that's a thing, but
exactly. Okay. I made it a thing.
Okay. It is in Mississippi.
You can do a lot of things in Mississippi.
I have my husband over here beating me in the butt in a minute. It's doing that. He's from Mississippi, which isn't that far from where we are. So it's been great having you guys here, and I might just get the audible version of Coyote just to hear Ronnie do it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's totally worth it in my opinion. He really did fantastic work. I mean, I'm saying I've listened to it like 3 or 4 times all the way throughout the whole process, and I would always still get a little like excited. I'd catch like different things and stuff each time. I had to listen to the raw audio when there was no sound effects, and then I heard it with sound effects. Then I heard it without or with the sound effects and music, and then I had to listen to it the final time when we cut out the majority of the music because Audible did not care for the music. And every time I was like, you find like little things. His sound design is fantastic. His voice work is phenomenal. Not that I'm biased, but yeah, it was excellent. So,
thank you.
Hi, Spooky Spider.
You're definitely biased, but you're not wrong either.
And hello, 11, and you're coming in right as we're getting ready to end the show. Coyote is, well...
Okay, so... we'll let JM just tell you what Coyote is about, because it's a book that he wrote. It's his baby.
Yeah, it's about a kid who runs away from home and tries to find his way in the world, and takes up with a group of buffalo hunters in the 1870s, and they are not the best influences. Best way I can describe it.
Not the best influences.
Look, give him any spoilers away.
All right. Oh, PA, you didn't ask your question.
Oh, so which one? We're a bunch of Tolkien heads in here. Rohan or Gondor?
Gondor every time, man. Every time.
I've only seen the movies.
Gondor is like the capital.
I don't feel like I know enough.
Big white tree, and then the Rohan is the horse lords.
Oh, Well, I guess the horse guys are pretty cool, but I mean,
I choose Rohan myself because horse lords are pretty awesome.
I mean they're all pretty sick.
Yes. But that wasn't the question I
Oh,
was talking about.
Is it the alligator question?
Yeah.
Is it the one you're talking about? Okay, so I do want to hear Ronnie's response off this. So we're living in a brand new hellscape. I mean, we're living in a brand new hellscape every single day, but this is a brand new hellscape where alligators and crocodiles can now fly. How do you think humanity will fare?
Alligators and flying alligators. I guess Florida people in Florida are just fucked. Don't live in Florida at that point. But I mean, I'm pretty good. I live up in Oregon. There aren't any alligators or crocodiles over here.
Hey man, they can fly to Oregon.
Oh shit.
Let's be real here. We all know there's gonna be a Florida guy who tries to saddle these crocodiles and just freaking ride them.
Yeah,
Florida man becomes Santa Claus as he rides through the skies on a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. I mean, flying alligators, and crocodiles.
I like that idea.
That's
I think you're giving people storylines here. All right, everybody. This is the Nevermore Collective. There's a lot of us that are here that can help you if you have something that you don't really think fits your channel, but you kind of want to try it out. And if that's the case, get in touch with one of us. Me, PA, Filia, As the Raven Dreams. This is his baby. Creepy Clown Girl, Midnight Researcher, Midnight Bard, Seraphine, Sleeping Wendigo, obviously Patience, Silver Threads. Trying to remember who else. Is that everybody? Just about.
Did you say Filia?
Yes, I said Filia.
I didn't hear that one.
But this is really, it's a place for the community to put something that they would enjoy doing but doesn't fit their channel. That's why the Traveler's Tavern is here. Oh, this is our 55th episode of the Traveler's Tavern. And yeah, we're keeping it up. 242. Yeah, 242. I thought I said 242.
Yo, what up, Director Shadow?
Hey, Batty.
Thought you did too, but.
But yeah, if you want to get a hold of one of us, and we'll get you started. If you want to put just videos that you don't think fit your channel, we can do that too. We have Grave Matters. We have a Yu-Gi-Oh gaming thing going.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, we've got all sorts of things. Myth and Monsters has been on hiatus. I wish they'd come back because I really enjoyed that series. But hey, there's a lot of things that you can try here, and if it ends up you don't like it, you haven't put your channel in danger, and you've gotten it out there for people. Nevermore Nerds. That's the other one that I don't see on my list.
Nevermore Nerds.
So
hosted by Seraphine, the Midnight Bard, and Derringer.
That we're not going to go there. So just remember. Just remember, once you join the collective, you can leave nevermore.